Well, hello everyone. Just doing a few last minute things here. I'm pretty much ready to start. We'll be starting in about 23 seconds. You can see the timer over there counting down. It's good to be here. I'm going to just do a quick audio check as well to make sure everything is working properly. About 11 seconds to go. I can't wait. Sounds like everything's working well. Let me get everything ready to go. Well, hello and welcome to this live English question and answer lesson. I'm Bob the Canadian. I'm super happy to be here today. I do want to say, though, you might notice for the first time, well, not the first time, but I am not wearing a blue shirt. Normally, I wear a blue shirt whenever I go to work or whenever I make videos. This shirt, though, does have really small blue lines in it. So it's still me. If you were worried that it was an imposter is someone who tries to take the place of someone else. It is not. It is me. I am Bob the Canadian, and we're all here this morning to practice our English. My job will be to try and answer your questions. Your job will be to listen and to give me questions so that I can answer them. It's pretty simple, actually. We'll do it for about an hour. I do want to just say welcome to everyone who is here. I know there are a ton of people in the chat before the live stream start, and it's fun to be able to say hi to you while you're there. I want to say thank you before we start to Todd and Dave, who are here to moderate the chat. They just make things nice for everybody. And I do want to say, please remember to use only English in the chat and use the chat to have conversations with each other. It's okay to say hi to me, but if you have a question, there will be a form linked in the chat. Click that link. It will take you to a form. Ask your question there. I was going to say something else. What was I going to say? This is the last live English lesson of 2020. I will resume again in January. I think Friday, January 8th. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let me check my calendar. Yes, I think on Friday, January 8th, I will resume. But for the next 2 weeks, there will be no live streams. But I do have a special announcement. I am going to be making, believe it or not, a series of videos about English grammar. So during the Christmas season, there will be no live streams, but you will see a new video every 2 or 3 days talking about a certain grammar concept. I will mostly talk about verb tenses. So look for that. I look forward to making exciting videos teaching grammar. Is that possible? I hope it is. Let me jump over and get the first question loaded up on the screen, because I know that's what you're really here for, to have me answer questions. So let me find the first question. Let's see here. From Shanae, we have the first question. Hello, Teacher Bob. Could you explain the following sentence I read in a book? Pleasure is energy reciprocated. What you put out comes back. Thanks. So basically what they're saying is that if you are a happy person and if you are fun to be around, other people will enjoy that, and then they will act the same way as you. If you go to a party and you have lots of good energy, if you're happy and you're smiling, other people will see that and they will behave the same way, because happy people make more happy people. That makes sense? Happy people make other people happy. That's how I would say it. Next question is from Marcos. Marcos says, what is the difference between going down or up the street? Does it mean that the street is on a hill? It doesn't have to. Okay, so I could go down the street to talk to my neighbor. I could go up the street to talk to my neighbor. If the street is on a hill, you're probably more likely to say up the street when referring to a neighbor that's further up the hill, and down the street if they are. But if the street is flat, you could use either. You could say, oh yeah, there was an accident just down the street, or there was an accident just up the street. And if the street's flat, you can use either phrase for sure. Thanks, Marcos. That's a good question. Let me get to the next question. Rod, the Brazilian English teacher. Hi, Rod. Rod says, Dear Mr. Bob, I wonder about the difference between talent and flair. On the other hand, I wish you all a wonderful holiday season. Thanks for everything, my friend. Well, Rod, first of all, I wish you the best as well over the next 2 weeks as you celebrate the Christmas season. The difference between talent and flair. When you have talent for something, you can learn it quickly and you can do it well. Let's talk about playing guitar. If you have a talent for playing the guitar, it means you can learn new chords quickly. You can learn new songs quickly. And when you play the guitar, you do a really good job. When you have flair, though, it's like you have talent and a little bit more. So there are a lot of musicians who have a lot of flair when they're playing the guitar. So the talent describes their ability to do it well. Flair would be how they use that talent in front of other people. Okay, so they're somewhat similar, but there is a slight difference between the two. Let me see here. I want to say hi to Brent from American English. I see Natalia Belgrade. John Locke is here. Hina Khan is here. Mohammed is here. Amelia is here. Ida is here. Crit Oak is here. I do want to just recognize all of you in the chat over there. Thank you so much for being here. Someone is asking, where's the link to ask the question? It shows up every once in a while. Todd or Dave will post it, or Nightbot. I think it's also in the description of the video. I think I put it there. Bilal has the next question. Bilal says, hello, sir. You can't have done, you couldn't have done. What is the difference? So you can't have done that. So if I said to Jen, let's see, Jen, I robbed the bank. I would never rob a bank. Jen might say, you can't have done that. There's no way, you couldn't have done that. They mean the same thing. It would be Jen expressing disbelief. So I think when you say you can't have done that or you couldn't have done that, they would mean the same thing and you could use them in the same way. They're interesting because you're stating something, but you're negating it. And so it's an interesting usage of the phrase. Mohammed has the next question. I see Rosie in the chat saying, hi, I'm new here. Well, welcome, Rosie. If anyone else is new here, and Rosie as well, don't forget to subscribe by clicking that red button. But Rosie, it's nice to see you. And Talk Italian with Arone is saying hello to everyone. Awesome. Thanks for being here, Arone, as well. Mohammed says, hello, Teacher Bob. My question for you is, what is the best way to learn phrasal verbs? I often face difficulty when using down, off, and up, etc. with the verb. The best way, there's a video where someone teaches like a whole bunch of phrasal verbs with one piece of paper. And I think Christian from Kangaroo English teaches a whole bunch of phrasal verbs with a cookie. I have to look that up, but find a video where someone demonstrates. I don't want to toot my own horn. When you toot your own horn, it means you talk about yourself, but I have a couple videos as well where I talk about phrasal verbs. So maybe find one of those and see if that helps you a bit. Do you want to say hi to K Manga in the chat and Ario in the chat as well? Good to see all of you. A lot of familiar faces here. Let's see here. Eduardo says, hi, Bob. Good morning. I have a question. Would you tell me, please, how many meanings does the phrase I'm down have? Okay, so I rearranged some things there so it sounded a bit better. How many meanings does the phrase I'm down have? Thanks a lot. So if someone says, do you want to go to a movie? I could say, yeah, I'm down. I'm down for that. You can also say you're up for it. Yeah, I'm up for a movie, or I'm down. Both work. If someone was to say, if you were in a house and there was a floor above you and a floor below, and if you said, where are you? Are you up or down? Someone could reply and say, I'm down. They would normally say I'm downstairs, right? We use upstairs and downstairs. Those are the only two, Eduardo, I can think of off the top of my head. But certainly English is full of phrases that have more than one meaning. Let's get to the next question. Yeah, so this is from SL Lanka. Hi, Bob. So I only know the word staunch. Okay, so if you're a staunch supporter of something, it means you're really, really a really good supporter of it. I don't know the second word, whether that's an actual word or not. To stanch. Yeah, I'm only familiar with the first one. When I look it up, it says, to staunch the flow of blood. So possibly I just didn't know they were different words. So yes, they have the same pronunciation when I say them. Second one, interlude and languish. An interlude is like a time where something different happens in a song or a performance. So if you're listening to classical music, there might be like the first verse and then there might be an interlude of light music, and then the second verse. So an interlude is kind of like an intermission. When you see a play, there's a part between where nothing happens. It's not a very common word, though, in English. We don't often hear the word interlude. Languish is just to do nothing for a bit. So if you languish, it means that you aren't making progress. Let's see here. Hi, We says, good morning, Teacher Bob. What is the meaning of foreshadow? So corrected your question there a little bit. What is the meaning of foreshadow? Thank you so much. If you're reading a book and something bad is going to happen later in the book, but if small bad things happen to the main character early in the book, we might call that foreshadowing, because it's kind of predicting or hinting at something bad is going to happen later. So a good example would be, let's say the main character is always walking out in the street and almost getting hit by a car. That might foreshadow that something bad might happen to that character later in the book or movie, or if you're watching a play. Let's see here. Next question. Athanasios says, hello, dear Teacher Bob. In Canada, you have 3 companies, Rogers, Bell, and TELUS. These companies are about cell phones. Thank you. Yes. So there are many cell phone providers in Canada. When you have a cell phone, don't know where mine is right now, you have to pay either Rogers, Bell, TELUS. There's a few more besides that, but those are probably the biggest 3. Those are what we would call mobile phone companies or cell phone companies, Rogers, Bell, and TELUS. Let's see here. Marion says, what's the meaning of just like? I still can't understand it. So I switched words there to fix the sentence. I still can't understand it. So my brother looks just like me. So I have a younger brother. He looks a lot like me. He has some hair on his face. He has a beard and a mustache. Some people say that my brother looks just like me. So when you say just like, it's like you're emphasizing it. I could say my brother and I look alike. I could say my brother and I look the same, but we would most likely just say, I look just like my brother. Okay. Or my sister looks just like my mom. I hope my sister's not watching. She probably wouldn't be happy with that. But when you say something is just like something else, it means they are very, very similar. Let's see here. Wonder if, oh yeah, never mind. Sorry, lost track of what I was doing there. Nexion says, hello, Teacher Bob. Could you tell me how to use the word token? I've heard this word a lot, but it confuses me a lot. So the simplest version of the word token is if you go to like a fair where they have rides and games, you might need to buy a token. So it's kind of like a coin, but it only works at the fair. So a token is like it's like little pieces of fake money. When we take our kids certain places, they will sometimes get tokens, and then you can use the tokens in the machines. But you also can use the word token to mean to represent. So sometimes, let's see here, how would I describe this well? Yeah, I'm just going to leave it at that. Sometimes the word token means to represent something. Like you could have, like there's a token moment in the play or in the TV show where they talk about the earth and how we should protect it. So I'm not describing it well, but that's how I would describe it. Yeah, I'm going to leave it at that. Ruslan has the next question. Ruslan says, hello, Teacher Bob. Thank you for your great lesson, sir. I wish you and your family a Merry Christmas. What is your favorite Christmas movie? So we talked last week about the movie Die Hard, which is actually an action movie, but it also takes place at Christmas. I really like watching that movie. In fact, when I was younger, before Jen and I had children, I invited all my brothers and sisters over to watch the movie Die Hard because I thought it would be fun at Christmas to watch that movie. So that's one of my favorite Christmas movies. I actually just watched on Netflix a movie called Klaus. Here, I'll put it here. Movie name was Klaus. And it was on Netflix. And I would say it's actually one of my favorite Christmas movies right now. I won't tell you too much about it, but if you have Netflix and you want some English practice, watch that movie. It was really good. Thanks for the question there, Ruslan. Let's see here. Frank says, you are lovely thing. It's like darling. I want to know if it can be used, can't be used in that way with any adjective. So I would be really careful with this phrase because it's older. If you say to someone, you're a lovely thing, like if you were to say to a woman, oh, you're such a lovely thing, it would be considered kind of rude right now. If you use the word darling for someone you don't know well, it's an older word and it might offend people. We're very careful in English right now about using words that are too familiar or too friendly with people we don't know well. So that's what I would say about those two things. You know, maybe if a young child gives you a gift, you could say, oh, to the child, you could say, oh, you're such a lovely thing. But it's definitely an old sounding phrase that we wouldn't use very much anymore. We wouldn't want to offend people by using older phrases like that. So I haven't used the word darling ever in my whole life, I don't think. Let's see. So Natalie says, can other and the other be used with uncountable nouns? If so, could you give some examples, please? So that's a challenging one. I'll give you some examples. Today, I'm using this glass. Yesterday, I used the other glass that I own, okay? The other glass has a handle on it. So definitely when you're talking about this glass, there's one glass. This glass does not have a handle. The other glass has a handle. And then I would say when you start to use the word other, so there are a lot of other glasses that you can buy in the world. There are a lot of other types that you can buy. So there's some examples for you, but I can't say for certain. Like when I say, I want to talk about lake, like the lake, the other lake. So yeah, I'm going to leave it at that. So there's some examples for you using the word other and the other. Let's see here. Ario says, hello, hola, Mr. Bob. In the SpongeBob movie, Sponge on the Run, SpongeBob says, let it ride, Patrick, let it ride. What does it mean? Thank you. So this is a term. The first example that comes to mind is this can be a term used when gambling. So when you are gambling, so if you are playing cards for money or if you're playing roulette, when you win, you might let it ride. That means you bet again, okay? So let's say I was playing roulette. That's like a wheel and there's a ball that spins around and it stops on a certain number. If I was to put all my money on red 7 or something, I don't know a lot about gambling, by the way. And if I won, and if I left my winnings there, I could say, just let it ride. That means I want it. I want to bet again. So Ario, I'm not sure how it's used in the SpongeBob movie, but usually if you use the phrase let it ride, it means to let something continue happening, okay? To let it, just kind of let it go. Vitor says, Anna used to have long hair. Is the D silent? How to pronounce internet? Thanks, Bob. So let me say the phrase again. Anna used to have long hair. So if I say it really slowly, Anna used to have long hair, you can see how the D sound really disappears because that T comes in hard. Anna used to. So am I making the D sound? Maybe a little bit, like a tiny bit, but not really. Anna used to have long hair. So is the D silent? I'm going to say it's really quiet. I don't know if it's totally silent, but it's really quiet. If you don't say the D, no one will notice. How to pronounce internet. So here's another one. Like this video, this live stream is on the internet. So I'm saying it really slowly, internet. But if I speak quickly, I would say this live stream is happening on the internet. So it sounds more like internet, okay? So the word is internet. Most people say internet, so on the internet. Oh, I found that on the internet. I found a really good recipe for chocolate chip cookies on the internet. So great questions, Vitor. I love pronunciation questions. By the way, if you are watching this wondering what accent I have a Canadian accent. It is a close cousin to an American accent. It is a very distant cousin to a British accent. It's not very British at all, actually. It's actually a lot more American than British for sure. Let's see here. Simon has the next question. Simon says, "Hi Bob, what would you say to the cashier when you go to the grocery store and you also shop for your friend and you need to check out separately?" I would put everything on the belt in the grocery store at the checkout. I would put everything there that's for me. And then they have these little divider things that you can grab. I would put one of those down, and then I would start to put the other things there. And I would say to the cashier, I need to pay for these things separately. Okay. So check is usually something you use in a restaurant. In a grocery store, I would literally say, I need to pay for these things separately. These things are for me. These are for my friend. So I would just say that I need to pay for these things separately, and then use the little divider stick. There's usually a divider stick that you can put on the belt at the checkout. Let's see here. Vika says, why is there so little information about reading rules? Not sure, Vika, exactly what you mean by that question. There are definitely a lot of rules available if you want them, a lot of grammar rules, but I'm not sure exactly what you mean about reading rules. Let's see, why is so little information available about reading rules? Yeah, I'm just gonna have to move on, Vika. Sorry, I feel bad when I can't answer a question. I like answering them all. That's my favorite thing to do. Renata says, "Hey Bob, my question is a tad funny. If I move to Canada, should I know Canada's national anthem by heart? Thank you for answering my question, sir. Happy holidays." Well, first of all, Renata, thank you for the kind wishes. I hope you have good holidays as well. Here's my response. First of all, for those that don't know, when you know something by heart, it means you have it memorized. Okay. So Renata's asking, do you need to memorize Canada's national anthem? I'm not sure if it's required, but you definitely should do it. Okay. I think it's just a good thing to do. Oh, Canada, our home and native land. I don't want to try and say it right now. I do have it memorized, but it's easier to remember when I sing it, and I'm not going to sing it right now. But I think you should learn it if you move to Canada. I think it would be wise. If I moved to another country, out of respect, I would learn the national anthem for that country. I think it would just be a good thing to do. Mike has the next question. Mike says, "Hi, Bob. Could you explain to me the words anticipate and acknowledge? Merry Christmas." So let's say you're at work and you are hoping that there's a Christmas party. And when your boss says there's going to be a Christmas party, you might anticipate that it's going to be a good time. It means that you're looking forward to it, or you're hoping for it. You might anticipate getting a raise at work as well. It might be something that you anticipate, like you're hoping it will happen, and you're certain it will happen. When you acknowledge someone, it means you recognize them. Okay, so if a student has a question in class, they will raise their hand, and then I will acknowledge them by saying, "Joe, what's your question?" So it's when you recognize or allow someone to start speaking in that kind of a sentence or setting. It also can mean that you acknowledge something that happened, like you admit something. I think a lot of people are waiting for a certain president to acknowledge that he lost the election. I'm not going to say who, but that's another way to use that word. And then just give me 1 second here. I'm going to look up. I want to make sure I had a good description of anticipate. So let me just look that up for a sec. To regard something as probable, to expect it or predict it. So it kind of has some slightly different meanings. Let's see here. She anticipated that people would be happy when she returned to work. So she's hoping it's going to happen. So there you go. Let me get to the next question. Thanks, Mike, for that question, by the way. This one I will not be able to answer, Marwa, but I'll talk about it. Hi, teacher. Great to see you again. What is the difference between 2 and 4? Can we use one instead of the other, like for me or to me? So I'll give you 2 example sentences, but this is very complex. We use our prepositions all over the place. So here is an example. Jen bought a Christmas present for me. Okay, that means she went out, she bought a Christmas present, and the present is for me. On Christmas morning, she will give the Christmas present to me. So there is definitely a difference there. She originally bought it for me, and she's going to give the present to me. So when she gives it to me, she's going to physically hand it to me. But again, this is way bigger than I can explain in 30 seconds or 1 minute. So I recommend you search for a video on YouTube about the difference between to and for and in and on and at and by. And there's so many of them. Sorry, the English language can be a little bit confusing. Ronaldo says, hey, I'm going to pause though and say thank you, Daniel Xavier, for the super chat. That is very, very nice of you. Thank you so much for being generous. And Daniel says, hi teacher, how are you doing? I watch your videos every day. Well, that is awesome. I know that there are many people who they work their way through all of my videos. It's very impressive. I just think it's awesome when people do that. Some people start at the very beginning from January 3rd, 2017, and they challenge themselves to watch every single one of my videos. So if you're one of those people who's doing that, thank you so much for improving your English, but also for just watching the videos that I've made. So it's a great challenge. It's a lot of videos though, but hey, if you want to do it, you fine by me. Ronaldo says, hi Bob, which of these words can I use for food? Try or taste? You can use both. If I went to someone's house and they said, oh, I made a new kind of chocolate cake. Do you want to try it or do you want to taste it? Okay. So both can mean the same thing. You know, I'm going to cook some food and I'm going to try it before I give it to my kids. I made some food. I'm going to taste it before I give it to my kids. So definitely you can use both for sure. Hey, I'm going to pause and say, if you're new here, you should click this red subscribe button here. I'm trying to point to it. I can't actually see it on my screen. Let me go to my other screen, see if I can figure out exactly where it is. Oh, it's way down in the corner. So, hey, if you're new here, right in front of my hand here is a red subscribe button. It's right here, I think. You should click it. If you click it, you will get notified whenever I make new videos or do a live English lesson. And I do want to say thank you to all of you who are subscribers. You guys are awesome. And I do want to say hi to the 419 people who are watching. This is an English question and answer lesson. People submit questions using the form. I try my best to answer them. I was going to say something else. Oh, yeah, I was going to mention once again, this is the last live stream of 2020. I will start live streaming again in January of 2021. Between now and January 8th, though, I will be putting out a series of videos on English grammar. In particular, it will be a series of videos on verb tenses. So look for that starting next Tuesday or Wednesday. I'm not sure yet. But I'll try to put out a video every 3 days or so, maybe every 2 days. We'll see how it goes. But live streams, no live streams for 2 weeks. Todd and Dave need a break. I need a break. But there will be a series of grammar lessons coming out. And if you have been following me for a long time, you'll know that I rarely do grammar videos. But I'm going to do it. I'm going to make some really fun. I'm going to try and make them fun. Let me get back to the questions. Wait, did I answer Ronaldo's? Yes, I did. Next question is from Alex from Russia. Hello, Teacher Bob. Could you explain, please, the difference between courtyard? Sorry, I said that wrong. Between courtyard and yard. Thank you for your time. So yesterday, we did a lesson on the yard, and I talked about front yards and backyards and side yards and the things you do if you have a yard around your house. And this question came up a bit yesterday, too. A courtyard is usually a place that's covered in stone outside, but it usually has buildings on 2 or 3 sides. So it's an outdoor area, but it usually has a few buildings around, or a building in the shape of a U around it, and you would call it a courtyard. A yard is just any area outside of a house, usually covered in lawn or grass. Let's see here. Next question. Thanks, Alex, by the way. The next question is also from an Alex. This is from Alex Valdez. Hello. Hi, Prof. Bob. Just want to wish you a Merry Christmas. Little fix there, Alex. And a happy new year. Thanks for all your teaching. Kudos to you. Well, thanks, Alex, for that. I wish you the best as well over the next couple of weeks. I'm not sure how life is like for all of you. In Ontario, Canada, we are moving into lockdown or already in lockdown. So our Christmas is going to be a lot different than other years for sure. Let's see here. Bernadette from Belgium says, I have no question, Bob. We are receiving so much during each live lesson. Thank you so much for your generosity. I wish you all the best. Well, you're welcome, Bernadette. I'm just surprised that I've been doing this for 4 years and I still really like doing it. So I'm going to keep doing it. I won't lie. I like doing it. I know that a lot of people like what I produce. It is nice too that there's at the beginning of the lesson, there's a little ad and I get a little bit of money for that. So I do like that as well. It's kind of like a job that I really like, but it doesn't feel like a job. Does that make sense? That's how I feel doing YouTube right now. It's a job that I really like and it doesn't feel like a job. It's just enjoyable. Let's see here. Next question is from Luis. What is the difference between they are basic questions versus questions are basic? Can I do it in any case? Thanks in advance. So if I was talking about questions, I would say they are basic questions. When you do the test, it will have questions. They are basic questions. I could also say the questions are basic. Yeah, you could say that too. I could say, hey, there's a test tomorrow. The questions are very basic questions. I guess I added questions twice, but there's a lot of different ways to say that. You could say they are basic questions. You could say the questions are very basic. All of that would be totally correct. Totally correct to say that way. Hey, I need to make a small change here. Give me a moment. At this part of the live chat, this part of the live stream, I usually flip into members only chat mode. So if you are one of the people who is a member of the channel, thank you so much for being a member. You can ask questions directly in the chat and I will answer them. And I will also keep answering questions from the forum. So let me get the next one from the forum up on the screen. And then if you have a question as a member, go ahead and put it in. ESAM says, good morning, Dr. Bob. Oh, I'm a doctor now. I'm not actually a doctor. I'm just Mr. Bob. How are you? How are you? Fun to see you again. What is the difference between conformity and correlation? And what's the meaning of blaze? Merry Christmas. So conformity is when everyone does what they're supposed to do, okay? And they all do it the same way. So there can be, in the army, they have conformity. Everyone has the same uniform. Everyone has the same haircut. There's a lot of conformity. People have conformed to look a certain way because those are the rules. A correlation is when something is related to another. So you can have data and you can correlate the data. You can say that there is a correlation between people being not allowed to go out and people gaining weight. There's a correlation. The more people aren't allowed to go out, the more they stay home and eat too much. So there's a correlation. There's a relation. And then blaze is simply something that we use to talk about fire. So there can be a blaze in the fireplace. So you can have a nice, like a blazing fire would be how I would describe it. Norma says, yes, this is the last one of 2020 to Ashraf. Yes, so last live lesson of 2020. Some lessons coming out over the next 2 weeks, and then I'll return with a live lesson on Friday, January 8th, I think is the date. Moto Explorer says, hi, Teacher Bob. Could you explain to me the difference between close, near, and next to? Thanks. So this microphone is close to my mouth. So that means that the distance between my mouth and the microphone is very tiny. So the microphone is close to my mouth. Let me get back to the question. I can also say it's near my mouth. Okay. They would mean the same thing in that case. The microphone is near my mouth. I would use close to though. It sounds more natural. I like to have a glass of water near me during the live stream. So maybe that's because there's a little more distance, but I could say I like to have a glass of water close to me during the live stream. And then next to, I like to have a glass of water next to me. Next to simply refers to something that's beside you. Okay. There's another chair next to me right here. There's a glass of water next to me. I wouldn't say the microphone is next to me. I would say it's in front of me. Okay, so slight differences there. Brent from American English with This Guy says, Dr. Bob, when does your winter break begin? So Brent's being funny by calling me Dr. Bob. When does your winter break begin? I have school Monday and Tuesday, then I'm off until the 4th. So Brent, we actually finished school yesterday. We have 2 weeks off starting basically today. And then we were supposed to return to school on January 4th, but they announced that all schools will do remote learning for the week of the 4th to the 8th, just because the caseloads in Ontario keep going up. So 2 weeks of actual vacation, and then 1 week where I need to teach from home, where students will learn remotely. Julia says, good evening, dear teacher. I have a sentence I can't understand properly. Here's the sentence. Those kind of communication things can be a big pain in the rear end. What does the rear end mean? Well, I'm not going to stand up and show you, but there are many parts of the body, and there's a part down here that we call the rear end. There are other words for it, your butt, your rear end. So it's from the English phrase, you can say something's a pain in the ass. That's kind of a informal slang way of talking about it. Some people say a pain in the rear end because they don't want to use the word ass. So it simply means that something's a real pain. Okay. It can be a real pain in the butt. That's the phrase I usually use, pain in the butt. Brent says, perfect. I'm blaming my weight gain on lockdown. Yes, there's a correlation between lockdown and people eating too much. N. Vargas says, perfect. Awesome. Rod, the Brazilian English teacher, says, Mr. Bob, I'm curious, when you travel, what's the souvenir you usually buy? A keychain, a t-shirt? You know, Rod, we don't often buy a souvenir. We often take pictures. So let me start from the beginning, though. We don't often go anywhere. So right off the bat, we don't have a lot of souvenirs because we don't travel a lot. If we were to travel, we might buy something for the kids. We might buy a small stuffed animal, although our kids are getting older now, so we might not do that. But I think maybe a t-shirt. I might buy a t-shirt. That might be something I would buy. But usually we just take lots of pictures, and the pictures kind of act as souvenirs. They help us remember the trip. Sam the Taiwanese says, let's see here. Hello, Teacher Bob. I am playing video games with my son and watching your live stream. Meanwhile, I hope you have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. All of the people here as well. Well, I wish you the same, Sam. Cool that you're playing video games with your son. Video games are something I definitely play more of in the winter than in the summer. So starting tomorrow, maybe I'll start playing Age of Empires 2 again. We'll see. That was the game I was playing last winter. I might start playing it a bit more. Let me get to the next question. So Dmytro says, hello, Bob. I'm from Ukraine. I've been studying English for a year. I have 2 lessons with a teacher each week. Okay. You could also say I have 2 lessons with a teacher in a week. That works. Yep. It is difficult to memorize each rule, how to do it easier. So it can be hard to memorize rules because you're not using the phrases right away. A good example for me would be when I was learning French, there was a verb tense that I had difficulty learning, and it was to say something like j'aurais dû, like I should have. So if you're trying to learn a verb tense, what I did is I tried to use that verb tense in every conversation for a month so that I had real practice with it. So you have to put into practice the things you are learning. Hopefully when you meet with your teacher each week, you can use those sentences, like even write down some sentences using what you've learned and then use them the next time you have a conversation. Using new verb tenses and new grammar is just the best way to get it to stick in your head. Let's see here. Brent says, do you have ornaments on your tree that have been handed down from your grandparents or parents? No, we have a few ornaments that we got when we got married, because we actually got married in the month of December. So we have a few ornaments from our wedding, but most of our ornaments have been ornaments. We usually buy one every year. I don't think we did that this year yet. Jen, did we buy an ornament this year yet? No, Jen says we have not bought an ornament yet. Maybe we'll need to do that this afternoon. So normally we buy one a year. But no, nothing from parents or grandparents. I think my mom has bought us some ornaments, but we don't have any specific ones that are handed down. Let's see here. Saleh says, how can you drive cars during snowfall? Do you put an iron chain around the wheel? No. So first of all, it's a lot of fun to drive in a snowstorm if you don't have to go a long ways. It's beautiful. It is slippery. You have to be very careful. So how do you drive a car in a snowfall? You drive slowly, you drive carefully, and usually you have snow tires on your vehicles. So both of my vehicles have snow tires. So the tire is a different kind of rubber, so you don't slide around as easily. But it is actually quite a bit of fun to drive during a snowfall, especially to go to a parking lot and do donuts. That's a lot of fun. Donuts are when you spin the vehicle around really fast. Let's see here. Brent says, buy an ornament after Christmas for the sale. Yes, so in Canada and in many other places, it's actually better to buy things after Christmas because everything goes on sale after Christmas. Jen and I, one year we had Christmas after Christmas Day. Jen's family had Christmas later than Christmas Day. So we were able to buy some things on sale on the 27th or 28th before we went to the party. It's very handy. Thanks, Lolly. Lolly says, I'll send you a card for Christmas, Bob. Merci beaucoup. That's very nice of you. Let's see here. Next question from Margaritha. Margaritha says, hi, Bob. How do we pronounce horse versus horse, fellow versus fallow? Thank you. Best wishes from Ukraine. So again, how do we pronounce? So a little fix there, Margaritha, to your question. Hi, Bob. How do we pronounce horse? So you can ride a horse. This is me pretending to ride a horse. I think if I actually rode a horse, it would look more like this. But this is me pretending to ride a horse. And if I talk too long, my voice will become hoarse. Okay. So when you have a sore throat, your voice is hoarse. They're pronounced the same way. So you can ride a horse and you can have a sore throat where your voice becomes hoarse. I'm actually drinking water so that doesn't happen. Fellow, remember I used the phrase in an earlier video. I said my fellow Canadians, or if you were, whatever country you're in, you would use fellow to refer to the other people in your country. But I would say my fellow Canadians will be out shopping a lot today. I hope everyone's wearing a mask. So fellow. You can also use fellow to talk about a man. You could say, oh, he's a nice fellow. It's kind of an older sounding word though. Like if I just say, oh, have you met Jim? He's a nice fellow. It's kind of it's like I'm an old person if I use the word fellow. We do use it. And fallow is simply when you don't grow a crop in a field for 1 year. You leave it fallow. So there's your pronunciation for those. Let me go back to the settings here. Give me one moment and I will turn chat back on for everybody. As I do that, I do want to say once again, thank you to all of you who are members. It's really cool to have members. It's fun to make an extra video for you on Wednesdays. It's fun that you can have your name in green and you can have a little crown in the chat. And it is fun for me to just spend 10 minutes or a little more sometimes answering your questions directly. So thank you for being members. If any of you are considering being a member, just click the join button. You'll see some information there, but no pressure. Let's see here. The next question. Hina says, I want to say that I can understand all the English teachers, but I don't understand too much English, TV shows and news. So could you please tell me what is the reason? So here's one of the reasons is when you watch English teachers on YouTube, you get used to their voice. They usually speak a little slower and they're talking about something you might already be familiar with. So let's say you watch a video about the vocabulary of the house. You probably know some of the words, so it's easier to understand. When you watch the news, you don't have that advantage. It's not easy because everything is new. So here's a little trick that you can use. If you are going to watch the news, read the news before you watch the news. You might even want to read the news in your own language, then read the news in English, and then watch the news in English. Those steps can really help you understand the news. If you're watching the news on YouTube, slow the speed down in the YouTube player by about 10%, and it might be easier for you to understand. When it comes to TV shows, it's simply a matter of choosing a show that's at your level, and it can be hard to do, but certainly, yeah, that works as well. But I would start with the news. Do the, read the news in your own language, read the news in English, and then watch the news. And you might be surprised at how much more you understand. It can be quite helpful. Let's see here. Abel says, "Hi, Bob. I hope you're doing great. Could you explain this sentence? I walked past her. Is there any other group of words that describes the same past action?" So when I was going to class yesterday, I walked past her. So that's exactly what I would say. When I was walking to class yesterday, I walked past her. I don't think there's another way to say it. It depends if something else was happening, because you could say, as I was walking past her, she said hi. So you see how I've switched verb tenses there, which you'll find out in the second video I do next week, I think. I'm going to start with the present and then the past and then the future, but we'll see. So you could say, I walked past her yesterday, okay? Or you could say, as I was walking past her, she said hi. So a couple little examples there. I don't want to get too far into it, but hopefully that helps just a little bit. Alpi says, "Hey Bob, can you please tell more about the word though? You often use it while you are speaking, and I do not really understand what you mean. Thank you." So even though I use it a lot when I'm speaking, it's not that important of a word. So yeah, I just used it there, by the way. I used even though. It's kind of used to punctuate sentences sometimes. So you would say things like, it's hard to learn though, or it's hard to run fast though. When I go to the gym, like if someone said, when you go to the gym, you should run for 20 minutes, I could respond and say, oh, but it's hard to run for 20 minutes though. So I'm kind of punctuating the sentence with it. So Alpi, one of the reasons it's confusing is we use it in a lot of ways. In fact, I've been meaning to do a whole lesson just on the word though and even though and although. But in the meantime, I would try to find a video on YouTube about that. Someone mentioned to me the other day that I far too often tell my viewers to go watch other YouTube channels. And my response was, well, if I don't have the answer, they should just go watch someone who does. You don't have to learn from me. I'm just one guy. There's a lot of really good lessons on YouTube for you to watch. So you can watch me, but you can watch other people too. It's actually a good idea. Did you know that? Let's see here. Next question. This is from Natalia. Natalia, I believe this is Natalia from Moscow, because she's saying it was great to meet you this year. So Natalia says, "Thank you, Bob." And Natalia says, "Bob, I appreciate your hard work this year. You inspired me to do my best, and your answers to my questions were always clear. It was great to meet you and learn about Canada." So thanks, Natalia. I wish you all the best as well. Have a great Christmas. I did get to talk to Natalia a week ago. We just chatted for a bit on Zoom. It was a lot of fun. It was good to hear that things in Russia are going well for you. I just wish you the best as we get through this crazy time right now. It will be nice when things go back to normal. So have a good Christmas, Natalia. Thank you. Let's see here. Yes, it is me, says Natalia. So good to see you. Let's see here. Ashraf. Hi, Teacher Bob. Please explain talk and speak. So the reason this gets confusing, Ashraf, is we use them sometimes in the same way. Like, I need to talk to a student. I need to speak to a student. So those two sentences mean the same thing. If one of the children, we don't use the word children a lot. We use kids. If one of the kids said, "What's for supper?" I could say, "Oh, I need to talk to mom about that." Okay. I wouldn't say I need to speak to mom, but I could speak to Jen about it. Speak is a little more formal sometimes. So, but again, they have times when they're interchangeable and times when they're not. And it's kind of hard to explain. Let me think of an example. You need to speak louder. You need to talk louder. So they're interchangeable in those sentences. I can't hear you. Can you please speak louder? I can't hear you. Can you please talk louder? Totally interchangeable. I need to speak to my boss about getting a raise. I need to talk to my boss about getting a raise. If someone in the chat can give an example of when talk and speak are different, ideas usually come to me quickly. There's nothing coming to mind right now, so sorry about that. Let me get to the next question. Let's see here. Not 100% sure about this one, Edwin. Hello, Bob. Hope you're doing great. Is skirt off common to use? Are there replacements? Also, are hang on to and hold on synonyms? Thanks for your help. So to skirt off means to like leave. We don't use it very often anymore, but it's definitely a phrasal verb that means to, you know, you're in a situation, you're just going to skirt off. Let me look it up to get a good, I don't use the phrase very much, so that's why it's a little challenging for me. Let's see here. Tried to look it up and it disappeared. Skirt off meaning. Let's see here. He skirted the issue. Yeah. So if someone wants me to answer a question and I don't, you could say I'm skirting. So yeah, it's not a super common phrase, by the way. Are hang on to and hold on to synonyms. So when I drive a motorcycle, I hang on to the handlebars. When I drive a motorcycle, I hold on to the handlebars. So in that situation, they can be interchangeable. Yes. When you drink water, you need to hang on to the glass. When you drink water, you need to hold on to the glass. Because if you don't, it will fall. I was actually going to let it go, and then I thought that might be a bad idea. So yes, in the examples I gave, they are definitely interchangeable. Jorge says, hello, Teacher Bob. Can you use in a phrase the word thwarted and explain what it means? Thank you. So let's say someone had a plan to do something bad, but the police showed up and stopped them. We would say the police thwarted their plans. So they had a plan to do something illegal, but the police stopped them before it happened. We would say that they thwarted their plans. That is a hard word to say. They thwarted their plans. Let me say it one more time. The police thwarted the plans. There you go. Let's see. May says, what's the difference between, so let's take the word among out. What's the difference between stingy, frugal, and cheap? When you're stingy, you don't like to spend money. When you're frugal, you don't like to spend money. When you're cheap, you don't like to spend money. They all mean the same thing. I'm a very stingy person. I don't like spending money. I'm a very frugal person. I don't like spending money. I'm a very cheap person. I don't like spending money. You could also say I don't like spending a lot of money. All of those would work. I do want to say hi to the 512 people watching. Hi, everybody. There is, oh, I pointed the right way. There is a subscribe button here. You should click it if you are enjoying this lesson. Let's see here. So Irina says, please explain the difference between, and then the first word is not a word I recognize. Let me see here if there's a word to omit. Yeah, that is the lead. I have never used that word in my life. Like just now I learned a new English word. So that's kind of crazy. When you eliminate something, you get rid of it. If you have mice in your house, you want to eliminate them. You want to get rid of the mice. Okay. So when you eliminate something, it's gone. When you ignore someone, you do this. If you were talking to me and I did this, that would be me ignoring you. Okay. You would say, oh, I don't enjoy talking to him because he ignores me. So that's when someone doesn't listen to you or pay attention to you. Let's see here. So Lolly Lolly says, bonjour, Bob. Please, what's the difference between seem, look, and seem? Well, seem and seem are the same. Sorry, they're the exact same word. I think maybe there was another one. For example, something seems good or looks good or sounds good. Oh, so you meant sound. So the difference between seem, look, and sound. Okay. If someone said to me, yeah, so it seems like a good idea to go shopping today. It sounds like a good idea to go shopping today. it looks like it's a good time to go shopping. So the look one's a little different. Let me repeat those phrases for you. It seems like a good day to go shopping. Maybe you watch the news and the stores aren't very full. You could say, oh, it sounds like a good day to go shopping. With look, though, you would say it looks like there aren't very many people in the stores. Today might be a good day to go shopping. So hopefully that made some sense, Lolly. A little bit kind of went down the garden path there a little bit, explaining that one. Let's see. Next question from Natalia Belgrade. Hello, Teacher Bob. Wish you all the best and a happy new year. A few little corrections in there. Same to you, by the way. My question is, can you explain the meaning of scrutinizing? So when you scrutinize something, you look at all the fine details, okay? So if you were to kind of buy a piece of art, you might scrutinize the painting to make sure it's authentic. So that means you look at all the details to make sure it's real. When you get, when you're buying something online, you might scrutinize it. You might look at all the details before you buy it. Let's see here. Jesus says, good morning, teacher. I have a question. If I understand 100% of all the words you have mentioned so far, which would it be? What would my English level be? B1, B2, or C1? Okay, so first of all, you are listening to me. So listening is only one of 4 parts of a test, okay? So there's reading, writing, listening, and speaking. If you go and do an A1, A2, B1, B2 test, the CEFR, so I'm getting this confused, the CEFR test. So your listening, if you can understand me, is at an A2 or B1 level. Possibly I slip into B2 once in a while. So just your listening. Often people will think when they understand someone well that their English is at that level. But when I took my tests, I have my B1 and my B2 in speaking French. I scored differently on all 4 levels. My listening was very, very high, but my speaking was really, really high. But let me rephrase. My reading was really high. My writing was low. My speaking and my listening were both fairly high. So be careful with rating yourself. You're definitely an A2 or B1 in listening, possibly a B2 if you're 100% understanding me all the time. If you watch my videos on my second channel, they're 4 minutes long. The last 2 minutes of the video, I usually, if I remember, try to speak a little more quickly and more naturally. You are a B2, okay? Maybe a little bit C1, but C1 is you need to be able to have long conversations in English on a variety of topics without pausing to think. So C1 is a very challenging English level to attain. Let's see here. So Yaroslav says, hi, Teacher Bob, how to answer what's up? So what's up is like a short version of what's up or what is up. No one ever says what is up, by the way. It's always what's up. And what's up or what's up is like a slang or more informal version of it. If someone says to me, what's up? I usually say not much, which is kind of a funny answer. Like if I go to work and someone says, hey, Bob, what's up? I might say, hey, not much. Or I might actually describe what I'm doing. Hey, Bob, what's up? Oh, not much. I'm just going to the photocopier to photocopy some lessons for my students. So again, it's what's up. That's the actual phrase. Let's see here. Yeah, I'm going to skip the next one. It's asking me to make a hand gesture that I'm not familiar with. I like this hand gesture and this one. I'm not going to try and do this one that I see in the lesson. So I'm going to skip that one. Sorry, maybe it's a totally normal hand gesture, but I think you're trying to trick me into doing something. Here, I'll do the hand gesture. There we go. Anyway, I don't like it when people try to trick me. So hopefully it wasn't a trick. Let's see here. Next question is from Ismet. Ismet says, hello, I hope you are having a great time, and I have a question for you. The question is, last but not least, what does it mean, and where and when do you use this word? Thanks in advance. If you are playing a sport and people are choosing teams and you are the last person chosen, they might say, oh, you're last but not least. It means that even though you're chosen last, they still want you on the team, okay? So you were the last person chosen, but that doesn't mean you're not good at the sport. That's what that would mean. Let's see here. Michelangelo, hi Bob. When do we use got and when do we use gotten? So yeah, it's interesting. Like did you hear he's sick? Yeah, he got a cold. He has gotten a cold. Yeah, because he went skiing and he was outside. He has gotten used to being outside. Yeah, I don't know how to, I know obviously I should have an answer, Michelangelo, but I don't. Yeah, that's a tricky one. I'm gonna have to research that one because naturally I just use both, right? Like I'll use got in a sentence and I'll use gotten in a sentence. Like he's gotten used to it. I've gotten used to doing live streams. He got used to doing live streams. Yeah, sorry, I'm just rambling here. So I'm going to move on. Just don't pay attention to me. Hopefully, I'm not making your English worse by having you watch this live stream. Hopefully, your English is getting better. Let me check my question list to see where I'm at. I don't have time to go over today, so I am not going to be able to get done. So let me do 2 more questions, and then we will wrap this up, I think. Let me see here. ESAM says, Merry Christmas to all. Thanks, ESAM. And I think ESAM is saying that to all of you as well. I know not everyone celebrates Christmas, but I do want to say this is a season where I think it's just good to be kind to other people. Well, you should be kind all the time, but maybe think about being extra kind right now, or just think about being as nice as you can. Thanks, ESAM, for the Christmas wishes. Thelma says, Dear Mr. Bob, could you explain the difference in pronunciation of the article ah? So or a. So I have a glass of water. If I wanted to emphasize that, I could say, I have a glass of water. So let me back up. Right here, I have a glass of water. This is a glass of water. You hear how I say ah? This is a glass of water. This is a microphone. This is a glass of water. If I speak slowly and clearly though, and I really want to like make a point, I would say this is a glass of water. Okay, so we do use both pronunciations. We usually use though. Like I like to take a sip of water. When I take a sip of water, it's really, really good. I like having a glass of water beside me when I'm doing the live stream. So hopefully that made some sense. Hey folks, I'm gonna wrap this up. If you didn't watch yesterday's lesson, I did a lesson yesterday about the yard. You can go back and watch that if you want. If you want, tomorrow that lesson will come out in a shortened version where you can kind of re-listen to it to improve your English. If you didn't watch last Tuesday's video, I did a fun video on 5 common English questions. I'm going to put a link to that right now. Nightbot's going to share that in a moment. So if you look in the chat in a moment, there will be a link from Nightbot to the lesson from this past Tuesday. And I just want to finish by saying thanks to Dave, thanks to Todd, thanks to all of you for being here, especially a big thank you to all of my members. You guys are awesome. Please remember, there will be no live stream until Friday, January 8th, but there will be a series of videos coming out over the next week and a half about grammar. I'm super excited to make them. We'll see how they turn out. I think they'll be good. I think you'll like them. And it might just be a review for you. So anyways, Merry Christmas. I hope you have a good New Year's Eve, and I wish you all the best in 2021. I will see you live again in a couple of weeks. Bye, everybody. Have a great weekend and a good day.